Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jesse. Thank you all for coming. So you obviously see a globe here, and you're probably all thinking, why has Jesse got a globe up here? It's because I love him. Okay. But I recently thought, why do they even have globes? What is the purpose of these? Can someone tell me if they put their hand up? Yeah, Noah?
See the world.
See the world? Anyone else? Yes?
Isn't it like a map for like when you're like in a boat and you're like traveling in a boat and they use that to point out where they're gonna travel?
Yeah, so like a map for navigation.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Up the back, yeah?
To prove the earth is round.
Wow, they are three amazing reasons. So yeah, they're definitely it's a 3D representation of the earth. Sorry, flat earthers there. But yeah, it's a way for us to understand our environment, and if you can use it on this one, but if you go on a smaller scale for like a fold-out map, it's a way to navigate our environment too.
Great.
And so I want to tell a story of why I have a globe up here right now. And it all started when I was a young lad. My family and I, we have this boat and we would take it out over the summer. We'd take it up through the waterways of Gold Coast and Brisbane, and I was chosen to be the chief navigator.
Oh, wow.
I would have basically what you would call the river maps, not your street directory, but it had all the river maps that told me where all the beacons were.
Wow.
And this job was really important, especially at night when you couldn't see the sand, you couldn't see trees, you couldn't see other boats as well. So I had to tell my dad, who was the captain, go left at this green beacon or go right at this green flashing beacon in the darkness. And I was pretty good at it,
Wow.
being a bit humble there. And you know, when you get to that stage of ability, you start to get a bit lazy. So I got a bit lazy with my job. And next thing you know it, we had just ploughed into a sandbar.
Wow.
My dad went flying forward, I went flying forward, my chihuahua went flying forward as well. It was a mess, and you could say that my job was quickly removed from me. But it still left something in me, this desire to navigate the world, and just have that power in my hands too. So that's why I have this globe up here. You can obviously get lots of information from it. You can see that it's the Earth, that it's round. You see the big line across here that is stained yellow is an equator, and it separates the globe into northern and southern hemispheres with the North Pole at the top, South Pole at the bottom. If I move it, you can kind of see how the Earth would move in our solar system. And if I use a light, which I will kind of demonstrate with this fan,
How do you do the light? Just scroll.
There you go.
yeah, so a light is shining from the side. If you move it, you can kind of see that it's lighting up only one side here. And if I tilt the Earth, you can see that it lights up the northern side more than the southern side. And that's why we get seasons of the year. So there's lots that I've learned from this one. It's been in my family for a long time, and I've looked at every single bit of it.
Wow.
If you know your primary school geography, you'd be able to tell us where we are right now. So what continent are we on? Everyone say?
Australia.
Australia.
What country are we in?
Australia.
What state are we in?
Queensland.
And what city?
Gold Coast.
Gold Coast. So we've found where we are because everyone knows. And what I also thought was cool was there are these things called antipodes, and it's what is directly opposite our location on the Earth. So if I were to dig all the way down through the Earth, can someone tell me where I might end up on the other side? China, what else?
China's up.
Indonesia. China.
Where else? Alaska. The sea. Into space. Well, actually, we would end up here. Okay. Off the coast of Morocco, Africa, the ocean. We wouldn't be in a good state.
Wow.
To make that journey, it's actually 12,742 kilometers.
Wow.
No one has any idea what that means. To
That's
put that in
huge.
perspective, it is the perimeter of Queensland.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
It's actually less of a distance than it is to travel to New York from here on the surface of the Earth.
Wow.
That's insane.
That's fascinating.
But what I've done as a kid, I've ran my fingers over it. I've felt the bumps of the mountains. I've seen the yellow patches of the deserts where the Sahara is. And I've figured out that a lot of the cities are built not in those places because they're challenging to explorers, but along the coasts of countries. What else I found was that I could follow along the journeys of Apostle Paul on his missions throughout the Mediterranean as well. You can see those cities that he went to. And then lastly, I thought that something was quite strange. I saw this huge landmass up the top there, where modern day Russia is, and it says Soviet Union. And all these countries around it are also Soviet Union. And that made me wonder, why does it say this and not just Russia? It's because that country, that landmass, actually split up into 15 different countries in the year of 1991, which is how old this globe is. That made me think about just how did this come into being? I thought about the early map makers and how people used to navigate this world. I'll share in a story that I once had this BMX bike. I would have it after school. I would travel throughout the whole city, and I would know every single street. I would know every single back alley, and I created that mind map inside my head.
Wow.
If someone was like, "You need to go to that place," I'd be like, "Yep, I know how to get there." This is how they would do it before they had maps and globes. They would also give directions to people by saying, "Go past the big boulder on the right up there. That's a direction." The three wise kings followed the Star of Bethlehem to be at the birth of Christ. The first maps were made by the ancient Babylonians. They were very kind of primitive, carved on clay. They showed where some things were, but it was kind of bad. It wasn't until a Greek philosopher named Anaximander produced the first real map of the world. Yep, it's a real catch there. He basically thought that there was only a tiny bit of Africa, Asia, and Europe of the world surrounding the Mediterranean Sea. And that's all he thought of the world. He thought that everything else was just water, and it was on a disc like this table here. It wasn't until the 3rd century BC that people started to think about the Earth as being spherical. They saw that if it was the summer solstice, which means the sun is directly above you in Egypt, they saw that it cast a shadow directly down. But if you went up to a different city that exact same time of the same day, the sun was actually angled towards you. So that could only be that the surface of the Earth was rounded. Later on, we see that that our ideas of the Earth being a globe has developed. As astronauts went out into space, they photographed the Earth, and you might recognize that image of the blue planet out there. We can get so much information from these globes, but what we can't get is just how large and vast this world that we live in is, and how beautiful it is. I'd like to wrap up by sharing that I, for the first time, went overseas from Australia to the Philippines, and I remember looking over across the water, this flat water, just endless water, just seeing islands over the horizon, and imagining that if I were on those horizons, I would probably just see more water and more islands, and that was only that much on one of these globes. So hopefully you've seen my passion for maps and globes and navigation. You've seen that you can get lots of information from these things as well, and I hope it helped you appreciate the size of the world that we live in and how beautiful it really is. Thank you for your time.
Well done.